Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms and Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Barb Bacon. I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. Generally, I drive people around and to doctor's appointments, and I'm getting ready to have my sign-up list for taking people to vote. Buttons, once again, I believe in health care for all. I've got some people that don't believe in Medicare for all. Gun violence, let's get some control of guns, and Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel that passed away last year. So that's it, guys.
Hey, I'm Christian Cano. You're the co-host. My buttons are Moms and Men Action, Gunsmiths Legislation, Healthcare for All, Medicare for All, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it.
Good morning, everybody. This is the post-election live version of Coffee Pan Dulce. And we have a little election hangover, it looks like, especially with my partner in crime over here, Christian Cano. But
yes,
it is a live version for the second Wednesday of the month. Actually, we're already on November 9th and the first full week of November. So we got Turkey Day coming up, but before we talk about those turkeys, we're going to be talking about the turkeys from last night. A lot of disappointments on both sides. I don't think there was a blue wave or a red wave, and we'll get more into that.
Yeah,
how you doing, Christian? Good morning, sleepyhead.
As you can see, I am. I'm tired. I'm so sorry.
What? But you actually look a little younger when you're tired. I don't know if it's because it looks like you went out on a rave last night, or
it's the puffy eyes, I'm so sorry. But we continued. It's our 219th continuous show. So thank you to Jenny. We pulled it off this morning. Full disclosure, we were going to tape last night, then we decided not to. We were going to, anyway, make a long story short, I stayed up really late watching, and
You're feeling it now.
I'm feeling it now. Yeah, I'm not 25 anymore. So, yes, as Jenny said, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Jenny Gunn. Barb Bacon, unfortunately, was going to be joining us this morning, and I have messed everyone's schedule up. We want to thank everyone who's joining us on Facebook Live, and we're actually live, and those who are going to join us also on YouTube, and then also the thousands who are going to be joining us on your favorite audio podcast platform. So since I'm going to have to do some editing here, we'll figure out how we're going to do this, and this is going to be a shorter show. Thank you, Jenny. What are your first thoughts waking up this morning?
Well, we knew a lot of the results last night. I mean, we're down to the last races in the House and the Senate that are going to be too close to call. And a couple of House races are probably going to have to go to some sort of, there may be a court case or two. But all in all, it looks like the Republicans are on track to take back the House, most likely. The Democrats will probably keep the Senate. Or at least it'll be 50-50. At the raw minimum, it'll probably end up being 50-50.
Sure.
There's probably going to be a runoff in Georgia. Almost all the votes have been counted in Georgia, and it's neither one is they're just under 50% with Warnock leading. So a couple interesting things that have happened. Of course, Boebert lost her seat, which
that's when I went to bed.
That's
why I stayed up.
The Twitter is blowing up with the before and after picture. The before picture shows like it looks like a country music rock concert. They're just all excited and smiles, and then they get their heads down, looking all somber in the after picture, and people are here for it. Probably one of the most hated Republican House of Representatives, and just an unhinged family.
Sure.
And the jokes going around, Boebert should have supported extended unemployment.
Yeah. So let me tell you, I know this is going to be a shorter show, but that's when I went to bed, and that's why I stayed up. I saw Fetterman won, which is a huge victory because we picked up one seat. Those who are watching right now, technically, I think they've called 48-48, exactly what Jenny said. And when that happened, and then I saw that Boebert was about to lose, and I was like, no way, because remember, Dr. B spent pretty much all summer long at his son's house in Colorado in Boebert's district, and Dr. B was actually supporting the long shot Democrat, because this was like a heavily Republican area. And I was like, you know what? If anything, if I can just see Boebert lose and Fetterman win, it will be a victory, because they did not regain a supermajority here in North Carolina, which is huge. And when I went to bed, I was like,
we only hold that by one seat. So
yes,
we have to make sure we keep all of our people in the house, NC House, healthy.
Yes,
give them some vitamin D shots, and hopefully, stay, maybe wear some masks and eat all their veggies, because including some crudites from Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
We definitely, the narrowest of margins here in North Carolina, and then when we focus on North Carolina here in a minute, obviously there's a lot to talk about. North Carolina if you're a Democrat, we had some good successes, especially locally, and then we had, of course, a huge disappointment with the Senate race.
Sure,
it was a very winnable Senate race, so it has to be talked about. And North Carolina Democrats are going to have to figure some things out going forward in the next 2 years, like ASAP.
So let's start off with the national race, Jen. I mean, DeSantis won Florida. Abbott won, Texas. Pretty much everyone that was, And so, what are your thoughts about those races?
Well, I mean, we're not surprised. I mean, we're familiar with Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Georgia's a pretty close neighbor to North Carolina to the south, so we kind of know that mentality down there. And it's the rural areas are so dominated by Republican politics. It's hard for the metro areas to make up for that kind of stupidity.
Sure.
And Kemp has just got the power. He limits the amount of polling places that the metropolitan areas can have, and you can't even imagine how many people probably got turned away. Probably, every election cycle, he takes people off the voting rolls. I don't know probably how many he took off this year.
Yeah.
And when you got a history of voter suppression.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee Pan Dulce. We'll dance out.
And a Republican dominance there for so long, it is hard to lose.
Yeah.
And that's the same way with Texas. Their Secretary of State takes, in 2018, they took 155,000 Texans, predominantly Democrats, off the voter rolls in September and October of 2018, which definitely has an influence. 155,000 people off. And even if the majority of them scramble to get back on, which they don't, it's that kind of stuff that undermines democracy. And then, of course, DeSantis was doing all kinds of crazy things too. And I think these three governors are a sign of what's wrong with our democracy. But all those states need term limits. They need a lot of election reform. And I think it should be a federal law. You can't take people off voting rolls until they're dead.
Yeah. Well, from a positive standpoint, I know you and I talk about this kind of like off camera a lot, but in a positive standpoint, looking at it from a half glass full, the crazier Texas gets, the crazier Florida gets, in kind of a bizarre way, it kind of helps us nationally because, you know what? If Florida wants to elect a crazier governor, it not only does it help us because the people in Florida, fortunately or unfortunately, hey, listen, this is your governor. If you want to elect someone who is not encouraging people to move to your state, that's your business. It makes a state like North Carolina, New York, California look saner.
Well, and that's a great point because you saw for the first time in 32 years, the Democrats got the majority in the Michigan State House, for example.
Yes.
We saw Maryland and Massachusetts elect Democrat
governor, a Democratic governor.
Two brand new Democratic governors that were former Republicans. And so you're seeing states look at California that has had great success with their governor, Democratic governor, and how they got budget surpluses. They're running better than ever. He's helping the regular person. California is grown economically faster than it ever has under Governor Newsom. I think he's showing a pathway to Democratic victory. Is that Governor Newsom does a really good job of messaging. So when he went up against crazy Larry Elder and all the other mouth breather MAGAs trying to take him out in a special election, he obliterated them, and won 68% of the vote, which is an insane number for a governor in a big state like that. Like, they weren't even competitive, and they were spreading all kinds of lies about him. But because Governor Newsom has been so consistent on his messaging and has had great success. So he's managed the economy of California very well. He's been very innovative, and he's been willing to take risks that have paid off. And it has been a huge boon for California. And versus, I think eventually these antics in Texas and Florida for sure will eventually catch up to them. It may have to cost some more lives, and it may have to come to some economic ruin for both of those states for people to take it serious. But I think if our economy does go down, like some people in the banking industry are trying to almost force a bear market, Texas and Florida could be in trouble. They could really be in trouble. There's a lot of people not bringing new businesses to Texas because of the ability of the energy industry and a lot of other things. So I think, I don't know, it's going to do one or two things. It's going to get a mass exodus out of Texas and Florida, which is a possibility. You've already seen a mass exodus of teachers leaving the state of Florida or going into other industries. They're just saying, this ain't worth it anymore. The sexuality Gestapo coming in saying you can't talk about gay things. You LGBT teachers obviously don't feel welcome in the state of Florida anymore. So they can go on to other states and there's so many states that need teachers. It's not like they have to scramble for a job if they want to stay in education. And there's so many education industry things where you don't have to be in a classroom. You can work for a book company. You can, you could go up to the college level. There's so many other workarounds. You could be a professional tutor that some people go, maybe this is the time just to get out of the industry. And now there are 50,000 teachers short in Florida because of crazy DeSantis.
Well, so let's kind of move back to where we live in North Carolina, which was I know you and I attended a victory party for at least my House state representative, which was he just pounced his competition, and I know that yes, and I know that before I went to bed, our governor tweeted that we did hold the line. So, I mean, I haven't actually seen the numbers, but it looks like we did prevent the supermajority from occurring, which would have been devastating for us here in North Carolina. So what are your thoughts about here in North Carolina?
Well, first of all, congratulations to friend of the show and just a wonderful leader, Brandon Lofton. And him and his wife are just two gracious, amazing human beings. I'm proud to have them representing not only the city of Charlotte, but representing us in Raleigh in the State House. Just great character. There's a reason why he's been elected and reelected 3 total times. You can't imagine that district without him, unless he goes on for a higher office. But he is what's right with North Carolina politics. If you look at Brandon Lofton, he should be a prototype of the type of leader that we should be grooming and looking to amplify people like that. I think he runs a really good campaign. He always puts together a really good team, which is, the candidate sets the tone for the team, and you just look at the way he talks and carries himself. You can see why he wins. Being in his presence, he's got a nice mix of humbleness versus a very his words mean something. He doesn't say a lot, but what he says carries a lot of weight. And it's great to see a representative like that going up to Raleigh to represent us. Locally, we had a lot of good wins. We held the majority on the Mecklenburg County Commission. We made sure wackos like, Matt Ridenhour did not he has no business.
He got trounced. He got
trounced by Laura Meyer. That's what happens when you lie. That's what happens when you lie. Crooked ass Matt Ridenhour sitting there lying about stuff about Laura Meyer and spreading all these crazy conspiracy theories and sicking the Mom for Liberties crowd on her and just blowing up. And to her credit, she didn't have a habit of deleting the deals. Unlike Matthew Ridenhour, when I went on to correct something that he lied about, he deleted me and dropped me out of being able to follow his thing. He bounced me out because he's a coward. And if the next time I see him, I'll say, "Hey, that wasn't cool." I'm going to confront him. It's going to get really confrontational. So if you're listening to the show, Matthew Ridenhour, dude, don't be a wuss. Don't be scared of a trans girl, telling you the truth. Maybe you should grow up and tell the truth. I don't know. But I'm glad to see it.
But you made a very good point.
Dowell, she held her seat.
Yes.
Which are 2 people that voted to fund the CMS schools when the other people in the room were adults.
Sure. These
2 women held the line and took a lot of flack for it. That's why I'm proud of them, and they deserve to be reelected. If I was going to point to 2 things, that those two ladies deserve to be elected for. One, they've been a really good ally to the LGBT community, and two, they did the right thing and voted yes to fully fund the schools on the first vote, and they did what they were supposed to do. They're legally obligated just to fund the schools. They're not there to debate or hold the money over, CMS's head. So,
Yeah. So I mean, and that's, I'm not sure how else to say this, but this went a lot better than I expected. I was nervously concerned as we went into last night. I was prepared for maybe some because, for an example, here in where we live in Charlotte, North Carolina, our school district, the two Republicans that we know are Republicans lost their seats in the school board. The Lisa Klein, who is a Republican and who probably is, she avoided the Moms for Liberty people because she knew how much that would hurt her, and she won. So
I need to correct that.
Okay.
I think she didn't publicly
embrace them.
Show the endorsement. I think what they did is clearly she's a Moms for Liberty candidate. You can't be running for a school board and be a registered Republican, and not be a Moms for Liberty.
Yes,
like she's gonna have to prove by her actions that she's not. I think she's a wacko too. She's just able to contain the wackiness a little bit better. But we'll see when she gets in office.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I was saying. So the good news is, of all the school board members, she's the only, what I can have a feeling is going to happen is she's going to be what the Sean Strand was, what the other lady, the Rhonda Cheek was, they lost.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's a good news. We didn't get anyone like Matthew Ridenhour on our county commission. We were able to maintain the prevent the supermajority here in North Carolina. So for us that live in North Carolina, this was actually a better night than what I thought. Nationally, they were expecting a wave, the red Republican wave. They did not get it. It was if they win the Congress, the House, it's going to be by 3 or 4 votes. It's not going to be about 40 votes they thought before. And so in many ways, like if there was a best case scenario, this was the best case scenario. I mean,
and for a sitting president in a midterms, will be, if it goes the way it's predicted to go, in these last few seats being filled. It'll be the best outcome for a sitting first-term president. In decades.
Yes.
And so better than what happened to Obama. Way better than Trump in 2018.
Yes.
Near the woman. They got obliterated by 40 seats. It was a massive blue wave in 2018 that took the House back and retired that speaker. And of course, he was retiring anyway. I think he was before he got caught in too many problems. He had some other scandals going on too. He had some issues as well. So it seems to be the role of the House when the Republicans have the Speaker of the House. They seem to always get in trouble. Not quite as bad as Dennis Hastert and his pedophile history, but anyway. It's definitely already being said that Biden won, even if he loses the House, which is most likely. We'll keep the Senate. We'll do 2 years of battling it out and gridlock and compromise. But I think overall, he'll still be able to do all the federal confirmations. We'll still have the Senate.
Yes. But don't you think, Jen, this was, what were your feelings going in? I mean, we all are positive people.
I thought because the $500 million that the Republican Party spent on TV ads in October alone was one of the ugliest, most heinous uses of political money. Ted Budd spent like $50 million in the last 6 weeks on TV ads. Sherry had no chance. You know, when you can dump an 8-figure sum in a Senate race for one state, it was lucky he was that close, because he just had ads running 24/7 lying about her, and just completely, he's a complete and utter fraud and a thief himself. Yeah, he screwed over North Carolina farmers, and it's a documented fact. And she's done nothing but be just a fabulous, justice, Supreme Court justice, and just a good human being. And Ted Budd's just an absolute piece of shit. And
so, what do you think? Yeah. So, what do you think? The fact that
he's going to represent this state for 6 years is a political crime, honestly.
So, what do you think? Let's kind of hone down back to North Carolina, because nationally, as you mentioned, I mean, we're probably not going to find out for a couple of days who's going to win the Senate. The House is eventually going to probably go to the Republicans. Right now, they have 199 seats. They need 218 in the Senate. It's tied 48-48 right now. They've called. So, what do you think here in North Carolina? What do you think that we have to do? Because it seems like we are one of the states that have become the firewall for preventing the nation from going crazy.
Well, on the positive, locally, we had Alma retain her seat again.
Yes,
won by a massive margin, and the grand dame of North Carolina politics just keeps on rolling on. And you just gotta love it, and I love her hat collection. So comment, and it's just a prime example of what can be achieved. We've got brand new rookie Jeff Jackson just won a brand new seat. Hopefully he'll be in that seat a long time, and that makes it interesting, because that adds another Democratic seat, not only in the national House, but it evens up the mixture of Democrats and Republicans that represent the state of North Carolina. And Jeff Jackson ran a phenomenal, almost flawless campaign. I know this is going to be painful for you to talk about. We'll have a little moment of silence here in a minute. But I think he hit the ugliness of his opponent very well, and the sketchiness. And then just left it alone. He pushed on the gas and then let up, pushed on the gas. And he obviously the seat was like Democrats +5. So it was his seat to lose. But the best thing about Jeff, this is really the first time he ran for the House of Representatives for the National Congress. Whatever he learned running against Sherry Beasley in the Senate race early on seemed to refine his message. And I feel like he did all the right things, because essentially, if he didn't fuck up real bad, if he didn't pull, just a really stupid thing like sexting somebody or anything like that, and he ran a solid campaign, he was going to win.
Well, and that's I agree with you, Jen, and I was you kind of exactly said. So Ted Budd and the person that Jeff Jackson ran against are not that different type of individuals.
Correct.
And so the fact that Sherry Beasley ran the way she ran and Jeff ran the way he ran was almost a template. Was this is how you can beat someone like Ted Budd, is you have to attack, but you have to attack like a Democrat.
Well, but I think the only difference would be fair to Sherry. Is that when she had the equal amount of money with an opponent, like her versus Joss, she can come out on top.
Okay.
She had an underfunded Supreme Court justice run. The Democrats gave her very little money to run on. She only lost by 400 votes. But her opponent didn't have much more money.
Yes.
But you can't beat $50 million in 6 weeks. I don't give a shit who you are. Had Sherry had the more money, and if she got a big old sugar daddy loan from some big Democratic donor like Steven Spielberg or something like this, I'll scratch you a check for $50 million, go for it. Sherry would be our senator right now. But you literally could not look at any media and not see a TV ad or a radio. Like he so blitzed the airwaves. You can't compete with that. And that I was surprised it was that close for her, because he just kept chopping and chopping and chopping, and you saw her go from being ahead in the polls to behind in the polls.
Yeah.
And just the that kind of messaging for the rank and file voter that just doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
It completely controlled the narrative. I think that was one problem with Sherry Beasley's. She didn't run the race she needed to run.
Yeah.
And so in some of the messaging, I think she tried to run a law and order campaign when the Democratic Party is not considered a law and order party.
Yeah.
And I think she didn't talk about Governor Cooper's history of creating jobs and stability. I think she needed to run a different. I think she got too worried about answering Ted Budd's wild accusations that weren't true.
Yes. Yeah.
That should have talked about the prosperity. I think them hitting Ted Budd on his crooked past was great.
I think it's going to. That's not going. That's not going to stop. Yeah.
Because the thing that Jeff Jackson did really well is going, let's just keep this going. The greater Charlotte area and Gaston County, which is really just West Charlotte in many ways. Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. The great successes he can run on. He's been a part of it. And so, I think and Sherry has been too, but Sherry, for whatever reason, kind of divorced herself from, she should have really run on, hey, since Governor Cooper's taken over in 2017, we calmed the social politics down. We got back to business. Let's roll up our sleeves and run on that.
Yep.
And that's what Jeff ran on. And I think it was one of the two planks that he ran on. And I think Jeff said, let's not fuck it up by electing a Republican, more or less, without naming the Republican. And I think if Sherry would have ran on that and ran on the historical significance of her winning and representing all North Carolinians, and it just had a little bit broader, more inclusive message, I think she played defense too long. And just put people to sleep. Her campaign was not electric. And I'm hard pressed to even remember a Harrigan commercial. Whereas I remember Jeff's commercials and the jet ski commercials.
Exactly.
It was just funny. You know,
it was, and it was funny, but it was a slam on. Yeah, it was funny, and it was a slam on the corruption and the kind of the hypocrisy of his opponent. You know. So
and having a guy in a suit on a jet ski flying around a lake, and he points back to the house, the fancy lake house, and the fact that he didn't even live in District 14, and he just subtly, it was really a subtle cutting message, but still being kind of folksy, still being kind of, I'm just Jeff.
Yeah.
Just
so hey, listen, we're going to keep this short, and we're going to end here so we can get ready for your show. But I'm going to say something, and tell me what you think about this. I hope that Sherry Beasley, who is kind of a generation of kind of the way of Democrats here, the next wave of kind of new Democrats is Jeff Jackson. And I hope Jeff Jackson has shown people that you can run like that and win. It seemed like Sherry Beasley was like Cynthia Wallace, was like kind of the generation of, it was almost like she ran like a white woman. I mean, I don't know how else to say that.
No,
but
I don't think she ran like a white woman. I think she ran scared. Scared money. Scared. The old saying is, "Scared money is lost money."
Yes.
You got to play aggressive.
Yes.
And Dan McCready, Cynthia Wallace, now Sherry Beasley, all ran scared.
Yes.
And they didn't do it in their primaries. So that's what's so weird. So when Sherry Beasley went up against Jeff, she was uber aggressive.
Exactly.
Gets up against a Republican and a very problematic, very beatable Republican and plays defense the whole time. I'm like, girl, you can't play defense unless you're just way ahead. Like you could do it if you're MTG and your district is 70% Republican. And so they literally, MTG's like the proverbial dog with the note. She just go out there, and as long as she's breathing and legally alive, she's going to win that seat.
Yes.
And definition of legally alive in MTG's I mean, debatable, but here we are in retail politics 2022. But Sherry ran a little bit too much like a front runner or an incumbent. She ran a campaign because neither one of them were incumbents. Neither one of them were sitting in that seat. And they both had to be aggressive. I wanted to see more folksiness. I wanted to see more down to earthness. I think she ran too much as a Supreme Court justice. I think it should have been talked about. But honestly, I wanted to see a little bit more the fun side to her. I wanted to see some of that tongue-in-cheek stuff that Jeff did. I want to see some of the stuff that Fetterman did. And, last night, again, throwing the shade, he's serving up crudites at his after party, his winning party. If you look at, I think Fetterman and Jeff Jackson showed that you could run as a Democrat, talk about the success of the Democratic Party and being the party of stability and common sense, it'd still be aggressive. It's still run like you're running uphill the whole time and that you're not coasting. Fetterman barely took any days off, even with a stroke. And trounced Dr. Oz with Dr. Oz's immense resources. Sherry, knowing that they were going to throw the kitchen sink into Bud's campaign, had she run differently, I think she'd be our senator right now. I possibly, I don't know. He threw a lot of fucking money at it there. A lot.
So we're going to wrap up here so we can get into yours. And kind of what I said when we started the show, this is the best case scenario that I think we could have had. It could have been so much worse. And, for those who live in Florida, maybe that they may not feel it at this exact moment. For those who live in Texas, they may not feel that. But around the country, the election deniers, almost 97% of them all lost. And it almost
blown out.
Yes, exactly. And so are there still some, unfortunately Ryan lost in Ohio, but it could have been so much worse. But more importantly, the DeSantis victory, he won by like 19 points. The DeSantis victory is going to be the biggest thorn in Trump's side for the next 2 years because it's now going to be about DeSantis and Trump scratching it out. And in a way, it actually has helped us get rid of Trump.
Yeah.
Do you think that? Or
I think, 2 years is a long time considering how many court cases are against Trump. Trump maybe most likely is going to be a non-factor.
Sure.
By the time it needs time, like he can announce he can run, but it's going to be tough to run a campaign from prison.
Yeah.
So he's got 2 years of court cases.
Oh, there's going to be so much fighting between them.
And then to mount a campaign at, Trump's almost 80 years old himself. He's only a year younger than Biden. And he's really, really showing his age. So I think the stress of, when you're stealing classified documents and selling them to Saudi Arabia, and, the January 6th, prosecution moves on, I think there's definitely going to be some issues for Trump. He's got a lot to contend with. And even people were saying on Fox News this morning, we have a Trump problem. Because this dude is not going away.
Nope. And he's going to
really
be a pain
bad rash.
Behind. Yep.
And DeSantis really isn't the ointment. He's not going to be a consensus maker himself. Nope. He is a whiny, sniveling shit.
Exactly. Yes.
That is also got an image problem. And just because the wackos in Florida voted him in does not mean the whole country's going to buy in. And so it's going to be interesting. The only, Florida's pain, maybe our gain, is that I think a really, really ugly Democratic or Republican primary with these fools may be what we need.
Exactly.
Certainly and talk about.
No, exactly. You said exactly right, Jenny. Florida's pain is our gain. That is that's almost how I feel, and I'm almost ashamed to say it out loud, but we have because I have family that live in Florida. Unfortunately, Florida's pain is our gain.
I'm so sorry for him. If you overwhelmingly, after he led the state and led the world in deaths per capita to COVID, and he's a COVID denier and a COVID wacko and a vax hole. If you want that as your governor,
sure.
When you were if Florida was a country, it would be top 5 in the world in per capita deaths. I think it's actually in the top 1 or 2 or 3. Like it runs with Texas and a couple other mouth breather states as being one of the deadliest places to live. If you're going to continue to vote for that, the people have spoken, and Florida is they deserve him. They deserve him if you're going to vote that shit in.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So listen, we're going to wind up our show, and thank you so much for getting me up.
That sounded bad, but anyway.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
But yeah, good morning to you, and
yes.
We will wrap this up. I will play some music, and
first tell us where you're going to be in the next week.
Well, besides the show, I pretty much have got work obligations and probably going to be pretty low key. I have no major events coming up. I don't have my gaming event. We're taking November off. It's just such a weird short month, and with Thanksgiving and all that, you really can't have a. November is the worst month to have entertainment events in, because it's such a weird holiday month. But we are going to be back on December 9th at the same place we were last time. So our next event is going to be Friday, December 9th. That's already locked in, and I'm excited to be back with that, and I'll have more details coming up pretty in the next few weeks.
Excellent.
But I do have that to look forward to. Plus, we got the holidays. And we'll probably have a tamale show. Maybe we'll do a one-off tamale making show. Maybe we'll play 2 queer Juliet Childs or something.
Yes.
There's no telling what kind of antics will happen.
So let's just absorb. Bobert lost. I mean, for me, that in itself is and I don't, I know we are all looking for half glass full kind of things, but that in itself just gives me so much inspiration for democracy that a heavily Republican district voted out, which means that NTG could lose next time, and so, they are scared now and they're going to have this nervous grin, and that this was the best case scenario that we could have expected. So thank everyone for watching us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. We'll see you next week. This was a short show, but we stay tuned. Here in just a couple seconds, we're going to go live with Jenny's show, Two Queers in a Truck, and we'll see you next week on Coffee and Pan Dulce. Bye, y'all. Yeehaw.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.